Hello folks, welcome back to Sheepdog's House, your home for all things that go bang. I am Sheepdog, your host. Today I want to come to you and do a quick after actions report on the primary arms 4 to 14 by 44 Mildot front focal plane. I just want to touch base. I've had her for a little over a year, 14, 15 months, something like that, and I've been very well pleased in its performance. The scope itself is just very robust, very hardy. This particular scope, I have a couple of these, but this particular one is on my Savage Axis 22-250 with a bull barrel. Just a project I did a while back, just varmint hunting on a budget. The scope itself, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, of course it's been over a year and I'm old, but as I recall, this is their blemish scope. I got it for $189, I believe it was, from Primary Arms right off of their eBay site. I still haven't found the blemish a year later. I haven't found a single problem with it. Absolutely love this scope. And we'll start at the back. The eye relief on it is just amazing. Whenever I get up on the scope and I go to line up, I mean, my eye relief is just amazing across there. Really handy. Not particularly on the 22-250, but on my 308s. I really like to have that eye relief out there. I don't have a half moon scar, but I know a few people that do. So that's a blessing there. First things first, firearm is empty, magazine is out, safety first. But as far as the scope is concerned, to begin with here at the back, of course it being front focal plane, it doesn't matter where you set it, whether it's on 4, whether it's on 14, it doesn't matter anywhere in the run where it's set. The distance between the Mildots is still 1 mil. On a second focal plane, there's a particular place in magnification that you have to set it in order for that to be a true measurement. With front focal plane, it doesn't matter where it is. It is a true mil-to-mil measurement. Speaking of mil-to-mil, I really like that this scope is 1/10 of a mil per click. The scope has really good click. And I've found this before on several scopes, but the elevation itself would be slightly off as far as not quite as defined in the detent. One thing, as long as I'm messing with the turrets, to tell you I do like about the turrets. Once you get your rifle zeroed at 100, take your Allen screw, pop this center bolt out, slide your cap off, turn it to 0, slip it back down, put your screw back on it. Then you're set. 0 is 0 is 0. So if you want to use your turrets for making changes and making moves, use your turrets. If you want to use the Mildot inside, use your Mildot. Honestly, I have to make myself take shots using turret adjustment because I find myself leaning towards using the Mildot reticle itself for those adjustments. So occasionally I'll just say, okay, I'm going to make turret changes just to make sure that the turrets track well. Did the box test with it first day at the range after getting 0. Box test was dead on, wonderfully done. The scope is, in my own opinion, for the dollar amount that it is, and even for a $600 or $700 scope, the scope is very well made. I have to give kudos to Dimitri and them over at Primary Arms. They do a ton of testing. I haven't known about Primary Arms, maybe a year and a half, 2 years at the most. Of course, being who I am, I research everything. I did a lot of research on Primary Arms before, ordering their scope, this first one. And I haven't been sorry. I've been very pleased with its performance and very pleased with the aesthetics of it. You'll notice, and of course I see guys all the time do it, and it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't paint my scopes. A lot of people, they rattle can their gun like I did this one, and they rattle can their scope. I just don't. I like the look of a matte black scope. That's just me. That's 6 1/2 dozen of the other. This scope has performed very well. You've got your eye set here for setting the clarity of your excuse me, your crosshairs, your Mildots, your reticle, and then on the side of it over here, you've got your parallax settings from 10 all the way out, 1,000 and into infinity. A really nice scope. Aesthetically pleasing. It's very rugged. It's been in some back country. It's fallen over a couple of times. Amazingly enough, for a scope of its cost, I'm not going to say a scope of its caliber, because I'm telling you for a fact, in my own opinion, that I got way more scope than I paid for. Super, super, super good deal, and constantly looking for blemish. I'll buy primary arms blemish anytime I find it. Super, super stoked with the way that it has held up. Like I said, it's fallen over twice. Both times I've picked up, I've gone to the zero, and set it back and shot, and didn't have to make any adjustment either time. Just set it down, took up aim on my 100-yard zero, checked it, it was fine, went on about my day. Super, super good. I like that. I've got some higher end scopes that they fall over one time and you've got to reset everything. You've got to rezo them completely. So I like that about the primary arms, that it's rugged, that it takes a beating. This is not an illuminated scope. They do make illuminated scopes, and I've heard really good things about those, but I'm a purist. I like Mildot. I like mil to mil. That just kind of keeps us from doing the whole MOA to mil, back to MOA, back to mil, back to MOA conversion. With this particular setup, if my firing solution tells me that I need 2.5 mil holdover, I can either hold it over in that reticle, or I can make my dial in right there and dial it up. One click is 1/10 of a mil, so 25 clicks, 2.5 mils. Take your shot, and I've been very pleased at ringing the gong. I have had opportunity to miss. Sadly, it wasn't the scope's fault. I wish I could say it was the equipment, but it wasn't the equipment. It was just a poorly designed firing solution. Both times it was wind, the holdover for wind. I miscalculated on my wind speed, which is super easy to do. When you get out 600-700 yards, wind speed makes a lot of difference. For a guy like me that is not a competition long-range precision rifle shooter, for a guy like me that just likes to smell gunpowder, that's never going to be the world champion long-range shooter, never even going to be a regional champion, just a fella that likes to get his gun out and shoot and hear the bell ring, I strongly recommend the Primary Arms 4-14 front focal plane Mildot scope. And this old sheepdog telling you, keep your powder dry and watch your six.